Good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. My name is Colin Livingston. Welcome to Talkin Torque. Gonna have I know it's going to be a fun show tonight. Got my good friend Dave Lloyd coming on, the president of Qwick Wick. There will be no hesitation to stir things up, and we'll pick on a couple of personal topics to argue about, whether it's NASCAR or golf or any of the other interests that Dave has. Real quick recap. We'll cover some of our NASCAR stuff once Dave comes on. I've been kind of negligent to mention the intro music that we have comes from a friend of mine. The band Cylinder, which our good friend Nick Boyd was the guitarist. They since split up, but want to thank Nick and the boys from Cylinder for loaning me their music. If you ever really want to listen to some good old classic rock and roll with a little bit more edge than what's out for the most part, look them up. Fueled by Fire is an excellent album, start to finish. We'll cover a little bit of my karting. Last night, it was an eventful evening for sure. Got to experience the highs and lows that you only really experience in racing, from passing just over 10 karts in my first heat to not making it through the first corner in the final. As we like to say, just one of them racing deals. Obviously, one of the biggest weekends in motorsport coming up. Formula One heads to Monaco, probably the most iconic race on the calendar. Unfortunately, one of the worst races, just simply because there's no passing anymore. There's once in a while you can make an overtake, but my opinion is that F1 has far outgrown the streets of Monaco, and it's probably time with the budgets and with the level of technology that's out there. I think it's time for Monaco to be in the rearview mirror. Then, of course, we've got the Indy 500, which is as big a race as there is. Lots of highs and lows already, with Stefan Wilson being ruled out after an accident with Catherine Legg. Graham Rahal not making the field, getting bumped out, then being named to replace Stefan Wilson. So there's a lot of storylines going into this weekend, and as is the case with every IndyCar weekend, no idea who's going to shine. I mean, a lot of teams have shown speed to this point, but obviously, until you get your strategy, get your pit stops executed, and have the right luck at the right time, never going to know what's going to happen. As I like to say almost every week, instead of listening to me flap my yap, let's introduce Mr. Dave Lloyd. Dave is the president of Qwick Wick, one of our team sponsors at 22 Racing on the number 18 car. How are you doing, Dave?
I am fantastic, Colin. How are you? Happy Thursday, buddy.
Happy Thursday to you. I'm okay. I'm pretty banged up. It was a rough night last night. We were chatting a little bit by text last night.
Yeah.
From the time I talked to you until the end of the night, racing the kart, it beats you up. And, while I'm not the oldest person in the world, I'm turning 50 this year, and my body is not the same as it could have been if
I don't know how you do it, buddy. I watched you guys last year at Motorsport at CTMP there, and you're ripping around, and I'm like, you're not far behind me, and I'm like, there's not a chance in hell you'd catch me in one of those.
You gotta love it. Here, I'm going to throw a quick video up, just so you know, when the videos are playing, our microphones are muted, so you can't really talk over it. But this is how my night ended last night.
Oh, somebody got punted.
like I said, this is one of these racing deals. Like I was I was trying to stay to the outside of the pack. That was right on the start. And the driver that I made contact with me, depending on whose helmet you have on. She was just trying to avoid the guys in front. It's kind of a father-son group, and they are definitely the craziest bastards on the track. I haven't raced around these guys a whole lot, but I was happy that I was keeping up with them. They're faster guys. In the first two heats, I was right with those guys, and I've never seen such aggressive racing. But they're a father-son pack, and they race each other way harder than anyone else. Yeah, just unfortunate. But there was a moment where I got from like, okay, this is good. I'm going to pick up a couple of places at turn one to like, oh shit, I'm in the air and I'm flying backwards. And
So is this a touring series or a local club that you went to for the first time? Because you've been running out there. You've been running out there for a while now. So
yeah,
how are
this
you
is
how
our
are you experiencing these guys for the first time?
I just haven't been around them. They've typically, like, I missed a whole bunch of races last year. This is our club racing at our track is called EDKRA, the Edmonton District Kart Racing Association, and what we call Rotax Mojo Raceway. Um, these guys are, former professional racers. They toured all around the US. I'm just saying I haven't been around them.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was
Right
it
on.
was interesting for sure. It was my first time this year at actually having a little bit of competition, because my first two races I've been so ill prepared with being away for NASCAR stuff and working on customer stuff that I haven't put any time into my cart. But anyway, this isn't the Colin Livingston show. We're gonna focus
Nice segue.
on Dave and our products here. So obviously, we've introduced you. You are the president of Qwick Wick. Let's in as many words as you want to use. Let's talk a little bit about what is Qwick Wick.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, in a simplistic term, this is a Quick Wick. A lot of people say, "What are they?" And we have packaging and so forth. So it's basically it's a little bit of packaging we've done on the top of it just for sampling. But in a nutshell, it's basically what we've done is we've basically engineered a combination of all natural waxes and wood chips, and we've placed it in a format that we produce these about 30,000 of these a day in our plant now. So it's automated and quite elaborate, and so basically it allows us to produce the quantities of these. But the reason why our packaging and kind of what a Quick Wick is always saying is the world's best is simplistically this is a Bunsen burner or basically a candle on steroids. And the key to this is this will burn for over 30 minutes. Most fire starters in the industry are about 8 to 11 minutes across the board. So ours is either double or triple the length of time this will burn. This will also burn a 10 to 12-inch flame circumferencing around the entire fire starter, as you see, and it'll burn that at a rate that's quite a bit hotter than a typical piece of wood. So the simplicity is this eliminates newspaper. What I'm holding in my hand, as we tell a lot of people, and when we do sales presentations to the Walmarts and Costco's and so forth, is basically in my hand is what I'm holding, which ratio to size is basically a bag of kindling wood. Or if you're a really good outdoorsman or indoor fire person, you could maybe get two fires out of a bag of kindling. So, and these work out to just a little over $1 each on the retail perspective. So it's 100% all natural. It's something that's been around. The company started 30 years ago by Frank Wall, the founder. Frank still has a footprint in the company, and he's enjoying a little bit of time in Costa Rica and semi-retired down there for 6 months of the year. But 30 years ago, we started this, and then we've taken it over the last 4 or 5 years to the next level and got it into the big box retailers. We've partnered with great guys like Alex and Tag's Rona Packaging for the Rona stores, and now we're expanding that into some other stores. So basically, it's a fire starter that makes your life simple and easy. You light one of these, throw it in a wood stove, close the door, let it go, throw your wood on top. You can see the simplicity of some of the steps there on the screens. You
Yeah.
know, no newspapers, saves you money. Obviously, you can light, and then the key is these will light even in the rain. So you can light wood and start a fire. I've taken logs out of the lake and put them in the fire pit, soaking wet, floating in water, and lit one of these. And basically, about 15, 20 minutes later, the fire's roaring and these logs are burning. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the elevator pitch. I mean, there's a little more in-depth stuff and everything on it. Sort of, it's all natural. It's a paraffin soybean combination wax with another third wax that we kind of keep to ourselves. The wood chips are cured wood chip that we get from a certain supplier that have a burn rate and heat rate. You could take a leaf blower and try to put them out with a leaf blower. I mean, I think we've seen some social media videos with Tag trying to put it out with a leaf blower and bottles of water and so forth. So yeah, it's just one of those products that when I got involved in it, I looked at it and said this is too good to be true. And one of the other things that was kind of a really appealing factor for me was in 30 years in business, Qwick Wick's never given a refund. Now everybody laughs, well, of course not, it burns up and dissolves. But we've never had in 30 years a customer actually come back through our portals or our customer databases and say, you know what, I just don't like the product. I want my money back, because we do offer 100% guarantee. And I don't think there's a consumer good out there, or a consumer product or a service out there that can honestly say that. I mean, sure, we get some people say, hey, it only burned for 14 minutes or 16, and we figure that and help them out, but we've never actually somebody say I want my money back. This is not what it's supposed to be. So
Yeah, I mean, we love them. We spend, a little bit of time at the lake. I'm not a big outdoors person. I spend so much time outside with, the 2 rounds of golf that I play a year, and a lot of racing stuff, that when I get a chance to get away from the bugs, I'm more than happy to be inside. But at the lake, there's a wood burning fireplace, and these
nice.
have just been, have been awesome, because everyone, starting a fire is the same as getting married, having kids. Everyone's got an opinion on the right way to do it. And
Or it's like trying to teach your wife or your girlfriend how to drive a car for the first time. It's grounds for divorce,
it can be.
because we are the male dominant species of knowing how to light fire. I am man, hear me roar. And then a woman can look and say, well, that's the stupidest thing ever, or a child for that matter. So it's grounds for a lot of heavy debates, and a lot of you're sleeping in that room tonight because the downstairs is full of smoke because you thought you knew how to light a fire.
Yeah, well, Burnswell might need a spouse. There might need to be a female companion,
Right,
um,
right, absolutely.
that isn't so prone to rubbing two sticks together. The modern woman that's way smarter than most of us guys.
And the funny part is, Colin, is our product has this handling scent on it. And the reason why we did that is women obviously can use these products quite easily. And it's an intimidation factor. Men, but I mean, I'm not trying to sound chauvinistic, but women find that lighting a fire is frustrating, and it's the guy's job. It's like, who cuts the lawn? You know what I mean? That type of thing. Not that, not to segregate anybody into certain categories.
Just remember, I
But
can't edit this. This is live, so be careful with what.
no. But I'm just saying, I'm being perfectly honest with you. I love going to the trade shows, because I believe in a company, you got to know your customer before you know your company. So I love going to the trade shows and having women walk up and go, I can even light the fire. Or a lot of women will come up and say, I get up in the morning and I always, guys are like, oh, it's not that cold. The women want a fire. They can throw one in a wood stove, and boom, within 6.5 minutes, they've got a roar of fire in a wood stove, which is a hard thing to get going in a wood stove. I don't know if some people say it's easy, but I find it difficult, me personally. So I always laugh and say, well, you know what, I'm in the same boat as you, because I could never light a fire until I got involved in Qwick Wick. So yeah, so basically we're kind of we're the Dr. Phil of the of the camping world, the outdoor world, helping people and keeping people together, sort of thing. So
Yeah, no, I like it. You kind of hit on 2 points there that I want to get back to. But number one, I'm blown away. I mean, I've only known you for a couple of years, but I'm honestly blown away with how hands-on you are. When it comes to your, I would call them, it's almost like a mini trade show. But when you do these exhibitions at your retailers, whether
mhm,
locally, you do quite a bit with Canadian Tire. You actually go out and set the things up. You go out and talk to the
100%.
when we do displays at various racetracks, you're traveling all over Quebec, Ontario. You're setting up the tent. You're putting the, you know, whether you have assistants or not, you're the
Well,
guy.
we have a roadshow team and we have assistants and helpers and stuff. But I'm a proponent of, if I can do it and it's not affecting the business, the overall operations of the business, you know, why wouldn't I do it? I mean, to meet the clients, you know, there's different demographics from everybody. For instance, out where you guys in Edmonton, obviously, you know, wildfires and all that stuff, that, you know, fire starters are not really a hot commodity because, you know, it's
We're
you know,
trying to put the fires out right
that's right. But I mean, you know, you look at somebody like on an East Coaster, Maritimers, you know what I mean? They're having fires, you know, 11, 12 months a year, either to warm and heat the house, you know. So there's whole, you know, it's different perspective. But I truly love working the shows. I mean, you know, my other business is a sports marketing business, and I would, as much as I went to, you know, 18 Super Bowls, I would still go, not physically go to the game per se, but I would go to see the spectacle, and I would go to see the buzz and the energy, and
right.
what can we do? What can we do better next time? And what do we not do right? You know what I mean? It's, you know, don't tell me the problem, tell me the problem and the solution. And you know, the best way to do that is to roll your sleeves up. So, but yeah, I thank you for that. I mean, it's and I like when you talk to somebody and they go, "Oh, well, this is really cool," and you need to tell the guy, you know, you need to tell your boss and all that sort of stuff. And I say, "Yo, I'll definitely pass the word on to him."
Yeah.
You know how good it is. So, and also, you know, you know, kind of segueing into our NASCAR relationship. You know, that was a new entity, and obviously we really started doing these activations at the Canadian Tire stores and at a lot of the racetracks, obviously, and then COVID kind of hit, and that, you know, that kind of, so we really didn't have you know, we had to make up for 2 years of not doing activations last year, and that's why I said, you know, I got to get out there because, I mean, obviously they cost money, but you want to, like GP3R, for instance, and partnering with Alex Tagliani, and you were there, and obviously I see you at every race on the weekends. I mean, like he's like Wendell Clark walking into a restaurant in downtown Toronto, or you know, Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Like, I mean, he's that superstar status out there. You know, so GP3R, we obviously need to put a bigger presence, get more tag swag. You know, draws people in, and leverage that brand ambassador there. Now, doing something with tag at Delaware Speedway in southwestern Ontario, you know, you're better off to get the local dirt guy. But tag's got some national exposure, but you know, so you sort of need to sort of, you know, quantify where's your money well spent, and what's representing the brand well, because you know they do cost money. Most activations are, you know, out of a budget, you know, they're anywhere between $5,000 and $6,000 or $8,000 by the time you look at samples, giveaways, hotels, staffing, you know, and that's per, you know, it's per event. So when those add up, if you do 10 of those or 12 of those a year, that's, you know, it's 100 grand in your event budget, right? So, but
Well, plus there's usually like $30,000 of poutine that Frank gives away. So,
yeah, well, Frank and I have a different perspective. I mean, I love the guy to death. He's the, you know, he's kind of the PT Barnum of when he was doing Qwick Wicks. He was, you know, kind of a gypsy mentality, and you know, I'll sell you a Qwick Wick, but you know, I'll make you a poutine. I'll throw a poutine in if you buy a Qwick Wick 4-pack. And
yeah.
you know, but no, Frank's history too is he came from a very big flea market in Ontario where he had a chip truck for about, ooh, I think he had it for like 10 years or something horrific. And it was just ran in this, it just ran in the summer, June to like long weekend, Labor Day. And he would like pull in like 11 to 20 grand on chip sales on a course of a 3-day or 2-day weekend. Just insane amount of money. Like he was telling me the potatoes. And so he's comes from that kind of caravan. And of course his chip truck was shaped like an old woodchuck caravan, you know what I mean? But anyway, so, but yeah, no, we're pretty excited. I mean, it's we're still learning. I mean, we're still learning about the motorsport world. I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. I've learned a lot from you and Alex, and having a beer or dinner and sharing stories, and you know, I don't think we did everything perfectly right in some areas, but you know, you gotta spend to learn in that sport, as I don't have to tell you.
Yeah, I still remember the first display when you guys got involved. And sorry, I've got some kind of eye infection. I picked up something last night, and my eyes just painful. I remember the first display you guys set up at motorsport, which was probably about 2019, if I'm not mistaken. It was just before COVID. You guys were lined up with Chandler Smith, and I remember that there was this big display, and I'm like, I just remember looking over. I'm like, who the hell are these guys, and what the hell is this? And nobody knew. Like, it kind of happened. Chandler was racing with 22 Racing with Scott Stepp.
Right.
And that deal, I don't know how it got put together, but none of us, we saw this display outside of the haulers. We were in the lower paddock that weekend because it was the same weekend as the trucks.
That's right.
I kept saying to Alex, I'm like, who the hell are these guys and what the hell is this thing? And it's like, I don't know. We don't know what this is. And none of our crew guys knew. And, and of course we didn't really get to Scott to find that out, but yeah, I mean, interesting how a couple of years makes all the
difference. That came together really quickly with Linda, who used to do Scott's PR and hustling sponsors and partners for 22 Racing. And she got a hold of Frank, who knew nothing about NASCAR. I mean, when he got there, he went to motorsport. He said, I couldn't believe it was a road course. I was expecting an oval. Like, he didn't even know CTMP/motorsport. He was that green. And so that was a 2-year race deal. That was a race deal because we were still going to do the dirt race that year, right? And Stuart Friesen was
the first one. Yeah,
that's right. So that was supposed to be the first one. Then that got so that was for the following year, Stuart Friesen in the dirt in 20, and then it got canceled with COVID. So 19 was Chandler Smith. It was a 2-race deal. Chandler at motorsport and Stuart Friesen at CTMP, and we'd have Qwick Wick on the hood. And then, of course, Frank and his lovely let's do this goes out and orders 100,000 Stuart Friesen 4-packs and 55,000 Chandler Smith 4-pack boxes. And I'm like, I said, do you even, there's Chandler, speak of the devil, right? And I said, and then I laughed because, we've got, Trayton's, he just likes to do things. I mean, this is the best 4-pack that I ever ordered in large quantities, 150,000, because I know he's not going anywhere. But anyways, yeah, it was just a 2-race deal. And then NASCAR got their hooks to do it, and they smell anything. And it's like the whole racing world. If somebody sees somebody sponsoring a sticker on a car, they think it's fresh blood. And then everybody started hitting them up and came out of the woodwork. And Frank's biggest problem was you could never say no to anybody. And then, of course, NASCAR corporately got involved and said, hey, we can make you the official fire starter for XYZ amount, and we'll do this and we'll do that. And
yeah.
Anyway, so that's how that all happened. Yeah. And then now we've kind of done a reverse and digressed it a little bit this year and moved it into some other areas for our marketing strategies. But that was fun. But yeah, that's typical. It's typical. Who are these guys? Where are they from? What are they all about? And
yeah.
And then when I got involved with Frank, I would go to a lot of these events and I'd say, Frank, I thought they knew we were coming. I thought hang on, I'll go talk to so and so, and then so and so comes up and he's looking for a brown envelope, and I'm like, oh my god, we can't do it this way.
Yeah, I love these 4-packs. I mean, we do a lot. I shouldn't say we do a lot. That's kind of a little bit too grandiose, but because of where the lake lot is, we've got a lot of friends and and connections through the First Nation community, and we've handed a lot of these out because most of them will teach survival, and the idea of having a fire starter in your survival kit is like, the one guy said, like, this is like cheating. Like, well, when you're talking about survival, there's no shortcuts, but you can keep these little cups. They do smell awesome. Like, whatever that scent is, like, I don't care that it's geared towards females. I love it. And,
well, it's not even geared towards females. You can't scent biofuels. You can't scent diesel fuel. You can't scent gasoline. You can't scent an accelerator that's a fuel-based, like 90% of the starters are. So the little briquettes, you break them, throw them in your charcoal, and then your fingers smell like lighter fluid for about 4 days.
Right.
So physically, by scenting these, it proves that they're all natural and there's no accelerants in them, because that's a lot of people say, oh, well, what do you cheat? You put something in there. There's no way that you can just do that with that. And it can be done, right? So, but sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, the response has been crazy. I'm fortunate you're very, very, very good to us. And I have a number of the 4-packs here that, whenever somebody's in my office or whenever they mention that they camp or they mention, an issue, it's like, oh, hold on a second. We got
There,
something for you.
yeah, there you go.
Um, for people who haven't seen it or, they don't know, I'm going to throw up one more video that you sent to me. This is, it's a time lapse video. I'm going to guess that this is
Actually,
probably
how long
about,
do you think? Let's do a challenge between you and I. How long do you think that was time lapse and cut down
I'm going to,
from real time? I mean, the video. I know you which one. I'm pretty sure you're going to show.
yeah,
Which one you're going to show?
I'm going to guess. Well, you said something earlier about 6 to 8 minutes. I'm going to
That's the wet logs. That's the wet logs out of the lake.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like pretty dry wood. Just based on that, I'll say 3 minutes of time lapse.
Okay. It was actually under 2 minutes. It was about a minute and 45 to a minute and 50 seconds. Because I have the original video, which I should have actually left up there because if you're doing a demo in a minute and a half or so, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it was
I
it
like
was it was dried cured wood that the guy had cut down and bucked and put in his fire pit, but
yeah,
it's
I love
stacked high.
these the more candid videos versus the produced ones. But
Oh yeah,
this is what this product does. So again, while the video's playing, we're going to be muted here, but we can talk about it here in a few seconds. Yeah, pretty awesome. Of course, everyone, at least everyone that I know, especially dudes, when they get, they've got their little kindling, they've got their little way of building a teepee or a this or a that, and then they get it started, and then you got to mess with it. And the biggest thing you got to do with any fire is poke it. You have to, for some reason, we think that we have to poke it and we have to
it's a
move
guy. It's a guy thing.
it's so simple with these fire starters that you can see in that video. Yes, it's perfect wood, it's in an enclosure, but all they did was light it and just let the fire starter do its job.
Yeah. So I kind of have to correct myself a little bit. So when it was activated and when it ignited, the flame was about 2 minutes. When it was fully engulfed, that would have been about 4 minutes,
Yeah,
about 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes. But when it fully engaged the wood and the wood was actually burning, was under 2 minutes.
yeah. And you said something on the weekend which I thought was really, really interesting, that Qwick Wick is the official and only allowed fire starter at campgrounds, did you say, in Ontario and Quebec?
Yeah, so Ontario provincial parks and then the national provincial parks are following suit because simplistically, when people go into provincial parks, number one, you have to buy the wood at all the provincial parks now because of the bugs and all that beetle transfer from park to park and stuff. So you can't bring your own firewood in. You have to buy the wood at the provincial park. Well, people would buy the wood there, then they would go and they would cut down kindling from a little tree or a sapling, and or they'd be bucking up, using whatever. So, now the parks sell these with the bag of wood, and as the only fire starter, so people can't come in with newspapers and they can't come in with newspapers and lighter fluids and all that sort of stuff because it basically simplifies them that stuff drifts and blows across with
Right.
wind into other campgrounds and other tents and so forth. So, and again, it's an all natural product, but I mean, they have these in bulk. But the funny part is that, the parks, I hear our consumers say that the wood is so bad at provincial parks across Canada because they buy just the local crap wood that you can't get them started. These are the only things that start them. So they approached us and said, hey, I approached them and via. So now, yeah. So now all the provincial parks basically sell Qwick Wick as a fire starter. Now people I'm sure people will snuggle in their kindling or their own wood and stuff like that in a trailer. But
Well, like
yeah,
you
so
said, retail cost is about $1 a piece in a 4-pack. Is that?
yeah, it's pretty well $1.25. The 4-packs sell for anywhere from $5 to $6.99. some of the provincial parks in some remote areas sell just one of these for like $2.99. They get a little greedy, but I can't dictate, the retail world and your other world. You can't dictate what something's sold for. You can only say this is what your cost is and go from there, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, and I think a comment popped up if they're better than birch or something like that. I think I saw a comment come on the screen.
I
So
could,
basically, they're better. They're better than any fire starter. Oh, look at that! I think I know that lady. They're
you've
better.
been introduced on occasion.
Yes, and yeah, so they're better than any birch bark or any sort of natural fire starter, because obviously they burn 3 times hotter than a normal piece of wood. So, and obviously it burns for 30 minutes, where a piece of birch will. I mean, there's lots of ways to start fires. I do these trade shows, and people say, "Oh, my grandmother gets the lint out of the dryer, and she saves it all year, and we put it in this and that," and it's like it absolutely works.
Yeah.
Oh, we do the wax, and we put in egg cartons, and I go, yeah, it absolutely works. And you know what? I mean, they made Bic lighters, but if you rub 2 sticks together long enough, you can start a fire too.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
but I'd rather just go like this and light it. So
It
I always tell everybody we're the fire starter. We're the Ferrari of fire starters, but we sell them for the price of like a Camaro.
it's more like a Festiva, but
A Festiva, yeah. I saw
um,
a Fiero the other day. Remember those?
of course.
Oh, I love those things. When they came out, they were so badass.
Yeah, they were the poor man, the really, really poor man's Ferrari.
And then remember those people who used to put the Ferrari kits on them, body kits,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
So I'm going to throw one more stat, because this is mind-boggling to me.
Okay.
That once you light this, if you sat there just above the cup, you can actually take, like, while it's burning, you can actually take the time to boil 8 cups of water.
I sent you that one video, which is too long to show here, but if somebody wants to go to our YouTube or whatever channel or website and stuff, there's a video that a client sent me that took 2 bricks, put them on either side of a Qwick Wick. He lit the Qwick Wick, put a frying pan on top, fried bacon, which you know how long that takes. Took the bacon off, fired some eggs in the bacon grease, cooked his eggs, took that off, put a jug of water on top of just the bricks in the Qwick Wick, no wood, and he boiled 4 cups of water just for him and his buddy to have their breakfast. Took that off, made their coffee while it was still burning, moved the bricks aside, put the wood on top, and it actually started their campfire while they were having their breakfast. So yeah, you can actually boil 8 cups of water using just a Qwick Wick and then still light your fire.
Yeah, and that's actually a fun challenge, is to see how many different ways people can use these to, get their fire going, because
listen, I would love to do stuff like that, Colin, but we're in the day and age of everybody sues everybody. When you do a challenge like that and you want it to be a fun challenge, next thing you know, you got a guy in his house, doing a Qwick Wick on the floor. Like, I have a concrete swimming pool and in my old house, and I would light them because you can actually light a Qwick Wick and it'll float and burn for 35 minutes. So it's actually like a torch on the water. So of course, New Year's Eve, when we've had some wine and enjoying life, the Qwick Wicks got thrown into the concrete pool. Of course, some people took pictures and thought this was the cat's ass. And of course, my friend goes and does the same thing at one of his functions a little later on that summer, and doesn't realize that when you have a concrete pool, when the Qwick Wick goes to the edge and sits at the edge, it's just going to sit against the concrete. But if you have a vinyl liner and it goes like this, yeah, it didn't end well. Let's just say he cost him about $4,500 for a new liner, when the water kind of just went kapoof.
Yeah.
And he thought he had all these and of course he puts like 10 in his pool, right? So yeah, you could do that. I would love to do something like that. And we could have some fun with that if we just tell people it has to be outdoors, or show us the craziest way you've used a Qwick Wick. Or
Yeah, and unfortunately, I mean, one of the things I know, from our numerous conversations, is you're really trying to expand out west. Better coverage in the western provinces, and obviously, with fire bans right now, that's a exponentially more difficult. But hopefully, we'll get you guys out. During
do you guys have fire bans pretty well every year out there? There's some sort of wildfire. Like, I know that there's big years, like this year's a horrific one, where we see the smoke in Ontario, and you showed me a picture on the weekend of downtown Edmonton. Or no, that was your buddy from Sony Canada.
Yeah, that was Shane. Yeah, from Cal.
Yeah, from Calgary.
The fire bans are regional. They're, I don't ever remember it. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I don't remember a provincial ban like this where it's not
Okay.
it's not just outside fires. It's like no ATV, nothing that could, inadvertently.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Like, yeah, we're pretty much locked down. You can have outdoor fires that are like propane powered, natural gas, because there's no risk of flyaway product. But even today, I mean, right now it's only 18 Celsius. At noon today, it was only plus 12. So we've been getting some cooler weather. We've been getting a bit of rain, so hopefully that's behind us. But do you have any plans to come out west during
I'm gonna try to catch our Edmonton Saskatoon leg.
Okay. Have you been out for those races?
I went to Edmonton. Well, I've been out there for different type of events, but I've never gone to Loretta's track in Edmonton there.
Okay.
And the Saskatoon guys, the last time I was there was when the Wyatt group had it.
Yeah.
So that would have been about 17, 16,
Okay.
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my business partner for my other company was based out of Saskatoon, so we went up there and checked that out. Yeah.
Well, of course, we can be a good jumping off point for you. If whatever you want to ship out to have on display, obviously you're more than welcome to send to us, and then we can get it in your hands when you come out here.
Yeah.
Whether it's, tents, 4-packs, buckets, whatever it is. And obviously, it's
we could throw it in the 22 truck is what I was thinking, because I think it's only Alex and Trayton that'll be going out there, as far as I know. I mean, I don't think Kyle's doing anything. Last year, Kyle went out there, so it loaded it up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle kicked ass too. Kyle did a great job. Kyle Stackley, Scott's son. He did a great job. Those were his first Pinty's races, was Wetaskiwin and then Saskatoon.
Yeah, that's right. And then Tag won the second Saskatoon race.
One of the best, definitely had Tag on a couple of weeks ago. One of my questions for him was, what do you classify as your best accomplishments in motorsports? And he's always super, super political in his answers, but he said, just making it into professional sports is one of the biggest one. Spent a lot of time talking about the Indy 500 pole. First win at Road America and Champ Car, and then I threw it back to him that I thought probably his two best accomplishments was the from 23rd to 2nd in 2 laps at Road America, when ran out of fuel, made a tire change from a wet to drying track, and then in 2 laps drove around 22 cars. But the second Saskatoon was as big, just because.
Oh, so you think that's bigger than the Sunset one where he lapped the field?
Oh,
I thought the Sunset win was kind of like, that was just like, I don't think anybody's dominated a race in NASCAR Pinty's like that race.
That, I mean, absolutely, that was our first win as a team. The car was obviously good.
But didn't he lap everybody but the second place car?
No, we lapped everybody.
He lapped everybody, including
Hathaway was the last car to go a lap down. He finished second, but that was more of a function of fortune, because in the second half of the race, there was no caution. So yes, we dominated, but if you're that much better over 125 or 150 laps, I can't remember, that's how it all kind of cycles out. Saskatoon to me was way better because of how damaged our car was after Wetaskiwin.
That's right. You guys are putting it together at a local Canadian Tire or something, weren't you? Or doing the repairs.
They keep me away from the mechanical elements of the car. But talking to Scott after the Wetaskiwin race and saying, like, what do you think? And he's like, this car is killed. There's no way we can get this thing built. And then to get the comment on Monday that, hey, it's not as bad as we think. Like, Alex and I honestly didn't know if we were going to go to Saskatoon, because we didn't think that there was going to be a car for us. Like, And
Yeah, I remember you guys were texting me in Edmonton, and you guys stayed there because the team had already left, and you guys stuck around.
which
Just 'cause
that's typical. We generally head to Saskatoon the Tuesday. Just because, I don't want to say there's nothing for us to do, but the team does a great job with the car. We don't need to get involved with the mechanics of it. And it's only 5 hours from Edmonton to Saskatoon. So
yeah, it's
we,
like
we
Toronto to Montreal.
yeah, we do that on a Tuesday. We get in, we go to the Cactus Club. If anyone wants to, if you ever want to, stalk us or, have a chance encounter, you will always find us at the Cactus Club in Saskatoon on Tuesday night and usually Wednesday after the race. But
Really?
the fact that,
I'm
yeah,
not. I'm not old enough to go in those establishments, Colin. Sorry.
I can sneak you in. But you know what? You come with me, I can bring you all kinds of places. But Alex will always have the hunter chicken. Like it's
Oh, really?
we're what is it, May? We're still basically 2 months away from those races, and I know what's going to happen here already. So
Well, it's like the funniest thing I ever saw was the first race last year at sunset, and it was such a long day. Remember, we got rained out, and then we started late, and it was cold and damp and crappy, and then I went, "Oh, I'm out of here," and I just high fived you guys. I didn't even do a proper goodbye. I said, "I'll see you in a week," or I think CTMP was the following week. And for your listeners, I'm driving, and I live in Waterfront in Barrie, and I'm driving down, and all
yeah,
of a sudden I'm driving. I'm literally like 50 meters from my entrance into my condo, and I look and I'm driving by, and I'm going, "What the hell are those Tagliani race fans doing at Dairy Queen?" Because I thought it was just groupies that had bought his sweatshirts and all that stuff. And then as I slow down, and of course I go by the building now. I got to go around the building because I'm like, that can't be. I come around, there's like the Three Stooges, you guys sitting there having ice cream with Alex at like midnight
yep,
outside because he
yep.
wanted Dairy Queen, and you guys Googled it was the only one that was open close to the track. And I'm like, oh my God, I never laughed so hard. I think I laughed I think I was upstairs in my condo still laughing.
Yeah,
Looking
we backtracked. I mean, really, it took us about, round up, it took us about an hour out of our way because it's, probably
yeah.
20 minutes from sunset to get back to Barrie, order the stuff, and Alex has a sweet tooth. Like, if people
I
don't know,
didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's funny.
crazy. Yeah, we actually went to Dairy Queen in Vaughan after sunset two
This
weeks
past week, 2 weeks ago.
that was my last hurrah, my last sugar until I can squeeze my fat ass into my cart.
Oh, dude, I'm doing these stupid protein shakes, and I'll tell you something. I would rather just chew on my arm or like a piece of like cardboard. Like it's like this. You're supposed to do these, and they're supposed to be, you know, take the appetite away and give you all the energy. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. I worked out like crazy this winter. I was doing 3 hours every week at like 3 1-hour sessions with my trainer. I there's two parts to the story. So I did a body scan in the fall and I did one the other day. And over the winter, I dropped just over 6 pounds of fat, but put on just over 5 pounds of muscle, which I didn't want to put on any muscle. I don't need more weight in my cart. But somehow from the end of the year last year until this year, I'm rolling over the scales almost 15 pounds heavier.
So, what is your body weight in the cart ideally that you want to be in your class? So you're running in the regular. Not like, is there a heavy division and a light or normal division in your?
Yes.
And are
Yes.
you in the? Which one are you in?
Oh, I'm in the heavy division for sure.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. And so, what is your body weight? Forget the cart because carts are all the same within realm. So, what is the ideal body weight to be on that 5 pound variable?
There is no ideal. Again, our carts basically weigh about 200 pounds. Some will weigh as low as about 190. Some will weigh 210. There's two weight categories that we run in our category, which is DD2. So we have a 397-pound category. Those drivers are, like I have a driver within CRG, Devin Gellings. I don't know what she weighs, but she can't weigh 140 pounds. And
Right.
she's probably like 110 pounds. I don't know how to look and judge that, but she's just a tiny little thing, but drives the wheels off the cart. And then we've got guys like me. I mean, I've weighed in at almost 230 pounds this year, which means when I roll over the scales, my heaviest weight over the scale so far this year was 437 pounds. But by going crazy over the last week,
And what's the minimum you have to be, or
our
the
category,
lightest
the,
you can be?
the lightest is 397 in that category. So you can't
Oh,
be,
geez. And the
you can't
carts are how much? 220,
200.
200.
Yep.
So you gotta be a sub 200.
Yep. And most of the drivers in
That just ended my comeback story.
yeah. My category is 420 though. So, you can last year I was rolling over the scales regularly between 422 and 426.
So you were carrying about 200, 210,
Yeah, it was
250.
210 give or take. I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
go up a bit, down a bit, but somehow I've put on. So, even from last week to this week, I was rolling over towards the end of the night at 431. So I'm a solid 6 pounds down in just a week by getting rid of all sugar, all carbs, not eating, barely breathing. Don't even have like it like I'm not having any fun, no booze at all until I can see a 425 on the scale. But in a go-kart, at least at our track, the theory is every 10 pounds you add slows you down by about 3/10 of a second.
That's what I was going to ask you.
So, that's, to have the, 15 pounds is over half a second lost.
That's
So,
huge. That's 10 cart lengths, easily 10 cart lengths, if not 15 a lap.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So you're just not competitive. So
you know,
six. So I should just stick to the bodyguard role and the 6'3" and the CEO and the president, and not get into the racing world again, eh?
there's always I like having the carrot. I like chasing the thing, and I don't mind going through these phases where I have to sacrifice and I have to give something up because it helps focus my mind. And
Have you ever raced anything without anything other than a cart? Have you raced anything with a fender
oh yeah,
or
yeah, I
anything?
in my vast racing resume, I am the proud racer of exactly two oval races. So in one day, I ran two different cars, and like it was madness. So you can talk to Amanda; she was there. If you come out, you can talk to my son Parker; he was there. I literally went from what was called the Thunderstock car. So it's
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
just like Camaros. Um,
yeah. Roll cage and just basic, radial tires and groove tires, and away you
I
go.
went from that and I jumped into an IMCA modified car. So, and this was at Wetaskiwin.
Oh, so like the flat
Quarter
wing,
mile, no wing. Like, I mean, basically the
same
front
thing.
is a bit of a wing, but going from like a no horsepower, no torque car, jumping
Yeah,
the modified and having like being able to light the tires up coming out of the corner, big horsepower, and I just bounced back and forth during all the practice sessions until qualifying, and then I skipped the race in the Thunder car, but I did the
good
race
call.
in the modified. Well, the Thunder car just wasn't competitive. It was a school car compared to the like I was probably half a lap down after 5 laps because I just that there was no speed in the car. Now, granted,
It
it was my first experience, but I wasn't
doesn't matter. You weren't a rookie.
within I can't remember what the numbers were in the modified, but like I I think there were 8 cars. I think I qualified 6th, but I was no more throughout the day. I was never more than 3/10 of a second off the fastest guy. So
Yeah.
like, and that's just like the car was really good. It was just a function of experience. But um,
Wow.
yeah,
Those things are crazy. I've seen those at Oswego in New York and stuff, and they're just like, oh my god.
yeah,
I
I
think they're the
love
fastest. I think they're the fastest things on paved ovals. I think that those modifieds.
Well, they'll run sprint cars on pavement from time to time, and that's psychotic
Yeah.
because those things are just like suicide machines. But
No, exactly. We saw those at Oswego, and that was my first taste of seeing those big sprint cars. And that's not even the outlaws from the US.
yeah,
That's our Canadian version of our outlaws, which are, I think somebody said, about about a half a second a lap slower than the Outlaw guys.
But there is no just our Canadian. Like, I don't care what track we go to, whether it's, there's a dirt oval out by the airport here. There's dirt ovals all over the place. Our drivers are incredible. I don't care what.
Oh no, I'm not taking any away from the drivers, but I'm talking about the good cars. It's like the Chili Bowl. They have those different categories.
Yeah.
Anybody down there, any of our Canadians can run with anybody. Any of our
Sure.
Canadians, and I believe our top 5-6 drivers in NASCAR Canada, Pinty's could run with any of the guys south of the border. You know what I mean? Especially on road courses and some of the half mile ovals. So
Yeah.
Listen, do you think Lewis Hamilton's going to sign with Ferrari?
Nope.
It just popped up on my phone.
0% chance.
I think
That was obviously the rumor of the week, is that they were getting ready to offer him a 40 million pound contract to come over. I can't remember who they were going to replace him with. Either Leclerc or Sainz was going to be gone, but no, zero. They Lewis all but came out and said, like, we're within a couple of weeks of signing the contract with Mercedes.
He'll finish there. Lewis has got a chip on his shoulder to bring it back. I guess they got the upgrades this weekend at Monaco, which you won't really see the value in that. You'll see it in times, I guess, but
you won't see it in time either. Not at Monaco, but it'll start this weekend.
And I hope that you, when you edit this, you take out your comment about Monaco should be off the F1 schedule. I think that was just a little rude, my friend.
There is no editing. This goes straight to the YouTube, and that's where it lives forever.
Yeah,
I will not. That race has no business being on the calendar anymore.
Oh my God, Colin, please! It's like history. It's like, come on.
It is, and that's where it belongs. Is in the history books. I don't know.
Have you ever been to Monaco? Have you ever gone? I've gone to the Grand Prix a couple times, and it's the most surreal thing. It's like walking around. It's like walking around the smallest little town you ever want to see, and then all of a sudden a car goes by at 180 miles an hour between 18 feet of guardrail. It's just the most. I mean, yes, it's a single file. It's very hard to pass. Coming out of the tunnel, maybe into turn one, there's a bit of a shot. It's a qualifying, and but it's from a spectacle. It's something to behold. It's just. You don't realize how flat out these guys are, and there's no margin for error, as we all know. But I mean, I would take one of these Middle Eastern, countries that have all the money in the world and they build these super tracks. Like, I'm stoked to see Vegas. I mean, that's going to be pretty cool. But it's a gong show. Like, just hear the cheapest tickets in Vegas now are $2,800.
Yep.
That's GA grandstand. In a really probably a boring part of the track. You want the strip, you want turn one going down, turning left by the Hilton. I mean, Caesars is taking out their whole front facade with all the sculptures and everything to put in temporary grandstands because they're going to make that much money.
Yep. Yeah, I'm
and they're digging up the strip and repaving it. I mean, it's just getting crazy. Yep. So I'm just kind of the old school guy, like. I still think the F1 race, at Mosport and Tremblant. I grew up going to the Formula One race at Mosport and stuff, and now it's at Villeneuve, and on the island and so forth. I'm just an old school guy like that. I'm a little, I'm 6 years your senior, so.
Well, that's the argument that people make, though, is why can't we move IndyCar to Mosport, and why can't we do well? The track is no longer safe for cars that go that fast.
No, that's right.
You have an issue coming up the Mario Andretti straightaway in an Indy car.
You're in the kart track.
If you're lucky, you go through the fence, you go through 4 motorhomes, and then they, if they have a really good picture, they might be able to reconstruct the body.
That's true.
Again, they outgrew that track, and that's why we can't be there anymore. Just
look at that off in our race last weekend and turn 5, one of the slowest parts going up the hill. Yep. And he punted that tire wall. Just see how deep he went in. I didn't realize he punted, and he locked it up. He did a 4-wheel slide at probably going in at 60 miles an hour into that corner, not even 70. It's not a fast corner. By the time he started to brake and then he hit that tire barrier. And that's 5 deep tire barrier. He sunk into that sucker.
Yeah, well, and we didn't get to see it during the race because obviously we were on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different part of the track and there's not monitors there. But listening to Adam Ross do the play by play said like that car is broken all the way up to the windshield. Maybe a bit of exaggeration, but yeah,
Adam doesn't exaggerate, does he?
that was a 20-minute red flag. Well, they
Yeah.
not only extracted that car, but then all the fluids leaked onto the track, and because it's so sloped back down to the hill.
Yeah, it was the tires, all the water in the tires. Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually stole one of my questions here
Oh
because I
yeah.
was I was going to ask you what kind of racing you watch other than your sponsored series
Well,
in NASCAR.
I'll tell you, the racing that I have the most respect for is those World Rally guys over in Europe that run winter snow and fall between trees like this at 140 mile an hour over a hill with somebody with a little headset beside them going 45 2 64 4 and then into like I'm like whatever. The most that to me is, and I think any driver in any class of the world will say those guys are bar none. They've got the biggest whats, and they're the most talented all around. Uh, I've gone to the Isle of Man, which was a surreal experience. I went there once with my father. It was a bucket list with him because he was from Great Britain, and that was something that was surreal to see motorbikes going through
Oh,
towns
so
that
you
like.
saw the bikes because they run carts there too.
Yeah, no, they run the carts, they run everything. They have different, but I saw the actual Isle of Man TT with the bikes and stuff. I saw Dunlop and all the big legends, and that was incredibly surreal. And then from a fan perspective, I'd probably say IndyCar than F1 because IndyCar I just enjoy because it's more passing, it's better, it's a more level playing field. There's a lot more diversity there than it's kind of like the NHL this year. Who would have thought that you got Vegas and Carolina in the Stanley Cup, or Florida and Carolina, or Florida and Vegas, sorry. Um,
Not me for
NASCAR,
sure.
NASCAR is what's that? Sorry.
Not me for sure. I never
Yeah,
would have
no.
predicted that, but
Listen,
I
I'm in Toronto. I'm a Bruins fan, diehard, but I have a soft spot for the Leafs. And like, as soon as the Leafs beat Tampa in that first round, and the media went nuts, and then all of a sudden, the worst thing that ever happened was FanPool and Bet360. Toronto's now the favorite to win the Stanley Cup. Oh my God, that was as soon as that came out, I said it's done. They won't even get past Florida.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy. But I'm surprised about your Oilers out there because I thought this was going to be their year. I thought Connor and Drysdale. I mean, those guys are incredible. You just didn't have a goalie. I mean, that's what it came down to.
I have no idea. I watched one hockey game this year. I happened to go to it. I didn't watch any of it. I don't care about hockey at all. Like
Yeah,
I'm
there you
not
go.
I'm not anti. It doesn't register for me. Are you
So
do you watch any of the US NASCAR, whether it's Cup, Xfinity, Truck?
yeah, I follow that. I mean, obviously, in 2006, I had a NASCAR license. I had a board game company called Specialty Board Games. I started in 2000. And so I made the CSI board game, the TV show. I made NASCAR DVD board game. I made all these board games, and then we licensed them. So I was very, very entwined with NASCAR as a licensor. It's just getting boring now. They've taken all the. I know. I mean, I do the era I liked was probably the '90s and early 2000s when it was at its peak and it was at its biggest popularity. I think that's where, but now it's just three teams. It's like Hendrick's Motors are in 18 of the cars last week and were Hendrick Motors. You know what I mean? It's like it's I don't know. It's just I think our NASCAR series in Canada is better racing. It's a little more.
Oh,
It's a
100%.
it's a way more exciting series. Um, it's way more approachable. It's much easier to brand that and associate that for a reasonable price. NASCAR in the U.S. is just getting out of hand now.
Yeah, I
But
really
unfortunately, it's a circus, right? As soon as they put cars in a Coliseum in LA, I don't know if you've ever been there. I've been there many a time and seen UFC games and stuff, and it's like when I said there, it's like, oh my god, and it sells like 70,000. It gets great TV ratings. They're getting away from the racing world, bud, and they're getting into the entertainment. And I understand there's a dovetail at both sides of that perspective that are very easily quantifiable, but in this aspect, it just seems to get boring for me. I fast forward
I
when when I PVR a NASCAR race now, I start it, I watch the first 15, 20 laps, and then I fast forward right to the end. A little timer goes all the way across. I stop at about 3 hours and 40 minutes, 3 hours and 50 minutes. I usually come on with 30 to go. And if anything's going to happen, it happens then.
Yeah, I don't watch any of the big stuff anymore.
F1's
where it's a more sternly weighted penalty for a loose wheel, a lost wheel, than it is for a driver making intentional contact with another driver. Where you can just, bowling ball your way through the field. Like I don't care for the spectacle. I want to see someone outbrake another car, control a car that's out of control. I want to see driving skill. These guys that are wrecking balls, it's not for me. It's this new car, I think, is a disaster.
Well, it's a tank now. Now they can bang and rob, and they can move a guy, and there's no repercussions. They're not going to cut a fender. They're just, it's different.
If you hit a guy too hard, Kurt Busch ended his career because of this car. With concussions from, because the car's so stiff now, all that load gets transferred into the driver instead of having crumple zones and instead of absorbing that energy. So, that's
when they have one of these big ones at Talladega, when they start going, and these new cars, because they haven't had one yet where the car is flipping and rolling, and the old Rusty Wallaces of the worlds and the Newmans of the world. Once these cars do one of those guys aren't getting out of those things and walking away.
It's not
going to be. They're going to be on a board. And they're going to be taken out, and I'm sure because there won't be any impact. But to your point, exactly, there'll be neck injuries, spine injuries, concussions, and so forth. And that's so. What's your go-to series that you enjoy watching racing?
IndyCar. Yeah, there's nothing better right now for professional racing. With rally,
little hokey with the push to pass and all that stuff. It's like a video game now. I never liked that part, but it is what it is. It's strategy. It's another strategy, right?
Push to pass, you only have so much time. The other car could use it to defend. It's not like F1 where you've got DRS where only the overtaking car gets the benefit. You can actually defend against it, and you can use it wherever you want. It's not like, you only get two zones or one zone or three zones or whatever. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But I challenge anyone on a weekly basis. Take a look at the entry list on a Friday and tell me who's going to win an IndyCar race, and you can pick one of 15 drivers and have a legitimate shot at getting it right. Like, you just don't know until the race goes on.
Look at Saturday with Rahal, right? I mean, that just shows you. I mean, when Rahal Letterman's got 3 cars on the last day for 4 spots, that's pretty. That's pretty scary. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why, what Tag's accomplishments were when he did the 100th anniversary and got the pole. And, that was a big, there was a lot of money thrown in some big hitters. Every wanted that title for the 100th anniversary. To win the race and the pole is the second best thing. You know what I mean? That was pretty incredible. When he tells the stories, I still get the hair on my arms, just, how much of an edge the engineer, adjusting the car so that when he's going down the straightaway, it's super fast. And one little rotation would make the car go like this, or a little more, 6 pounds or 4 pounds of downforce with a half a turn on it. And that's like engineers playing with your life and then saying, okay, that's like playing Russian roulette and saying, here's 6 guns, or here's 4 guns. They're called tires.
Yep.
And go out there and play. You know what I mean? Like, it's
good luck.
It's pretty incredible. You take a different, and that's why, I mean, I don't have the extensive, I got a kart background from my younger days and a little bit open wheel on 1600. But I mean, when you see what these guys go through and with these guys, it's just it's incredible. And that's why I just told you the rally guys. I don't know if you ever seen those guys in person, but Colin, these guys, and the fans are just as nuts. They stand like 4 feet off the side of the road.
Oh yeah. It's mad.
Our car's going through the air at 80 miles an hour or 120 clicks on a dirt road. Not only when the cars do hit the ground, they shoot like you're getting peppered with stones, and they got their pint, and all they do is they cover their glass up. They don't even turn their heads. Like, it's just to keep the stones out of their beer.
I can't watch it. Like, I've tried to watch our cameras, and I like physically I get nauseous. And I'm not comfortable. I can
right?
admire and I can see their skill, but I
Yeah,
just can't do
yeah.
it.
And then that one of the big racers was just killed a few weeks ago, and they showed his off, and he just went at a stupid, simple corner, but he ran off, and there was a stupid fence post, and one of the, you know how they have those posts like this in the fence, and then the poles are here, and he just happened to clip the pole, and this one went through the windshield, like through the vehicle. Like other times, he would ran out in the field, and everybody would have come and pushed him back. It's just the stupidest things, eh? Well, you know, it's like Ken Block on a snowmobile, right? Like a guy does all that stuff, and
It happens
it
just as
happens.
easily, you know, I could get hit by a bus on my way home tonight. You just never know. I got one question I ask everyone, and it's not one you can really prep for, but what is one misconception that you face on a regular basis, whether it's regarding Qwick Wick, whether it's regarding sponsorship, you know, as a business owner, whatever it is that you'd like to dispel?
One misconception is that's very, very easy is that people seem to think that Qwick Wick is a Fortune 500 company because we were put on a couple of hoods on NASCAR and we were on TV and stuff like that. Um, Perception is a great thing if you, but you, I'm a very humble person and always transparent. So I think that's the one part that kind of, that's the one part that I think that if I could turn the crystal ball back for the last 5 or 6 years when we kind of got into the motorsport world, I think we should have been like Frank just said yes to everybody. So our footprint went like here we are with the new kids. We came in with Trayton. We came in with Trayton at Sunset driving Tag's car with the logo. That's how the whole thing started. That
Right.
was just that was a small, you know, it wasn't a small amount, but it was an amount to put the logo on the hood of Tag's car when Tag was driving the truck and Trayton ran his very, very first, Trayton Lapovich ran his very first Pinty's race
Yeah, at sunset.
uh, at Sunset in Tag's car and almost won it. Last corner, he's kind of good at that lately. Anyways, so that's where it all started. As soon as people saw that logo and it was Qwick Wick, people didn't even know because it didn't even have Firestarter under the logo. It was just the round Qwick Wick logo. I added Firestarter because it's, you know, people know what is a Qwick Wick, right? There you go. So basically, that round logo was on the hood of the car, and I don't have to tell you. Everybody thinks Cantork is a multi-billion-dollar, million-dollar company and all that stuff. They think Qwick Wick's a Fortune 500 in Canada, and so that's where it's just. I wish we would just kind of strategically done things a little different, and then just kind of dipped our toe in the water. You
So
know,
what's like, I mean, it's great to have, I know exactly what you're saying, but I kind of want to drill down a little bit further. It's great to have people think that you're, you know, that big of a company. It's great to, you know, people think that you are way bigger than you are, but there's obviously a downside to that as well. Like, what do you find the side effect?
the downside is that I have to say no to people. And I hate saying no to people that could really use $5,000 sponsorship, Colin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Tag, you know, Tag's got, you know, eight logos on his car this year, 9 logos. You know, years past he had 1, 2, maybe 3. I mean, you know, you're talking one of the most recognized guys in the sport, one of the best brand ambassadors. I couldn't ask for a better partnership. I'm glad, you know, that we've come together with him. And Trayton did a good job for us too, but Trayton was young and he was building his career, and we're with Kyle Steckley. But there's some teams out there that if I gave them $2,500, I mean, that's like winning the lottery. If I gave them $5,000 and they put my logo on their car, it's not going to sell me Qwick Wicks, but it's going to feel damn good doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we started Qwick Wick, I originally started with a promo package that I gave $5,000, which was called a team kit. And I gave everybody, they had to go through an interview process, but I gave them $5,000 with a Qwick Wick because I come from the sports world where, you know, the kids knock on the door and they sell chocolate almonds so they can go to the big Pee Wee hockey tournament in Quebec City. So you had to fundraise.
Yeah.
So everybody's got social media and they're all lazy, but racers are lazy. They just want to check. They just want to work on their car. They want to go to the racetrack and they want to race the car and they want to bitch about it after they get out of the car. But they don't have the business acumen. Tag is probably one of the very few people, and Lacroix and some of these other guys. But Tag's an independent guy. Like Lacroix's family's got a business that's basically 90% on the car. You know, JF with WeatherTech. Well, that, you know, they're WeatherTech dealers and they got distribution rights. There's always a relationship with all these. It's not like just somebody comes up and says it. And Tag has some relationships internally on his car too. But they're different relationships, but he still has to go out there and get money. There's still a cash flow situation. So So back to my point is we did the $5,000 for the team kits. And of course, Frank's like saying, "Oh yeah, just call us. We'll give you a team kit. Come pick up $5,000 in Qwick Wick, and then you can sell it, keep the money, and that's your sponsorship, and you put us on your car." Well, the first year we did the program, I said, like, there's got to be a qualifying process. We have to do some due diligence here because these kits were going out to everybody, Colin. And then I find out 5 of the teams didn't even run a single race that year. They sent us a picture of their car and stuck a Qwick Wick logo on the hood, and they didn't even race and didn't even go to a track. Oh, we had engine problems. We ran out of money. Yeah. And then they have the audacity to come back the following year and say, "Hey, can we do it again?" Do what?
Yeah.
So I guess that would be my biggest kind of question to that, and the long version of that is I'm also very disappointed in a lot of people in the motorsport world. You know what I mean? And I know that now. I just know that that's just the way it is. Like, don't take it personal, Dave. Don't take it personal, Qwick Wick. That's just the way it is. And that's kind of a shitty thing to find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's like going to the prom and she's got a nice figure, and then you get in the car and all of a sudden you hear a balloon pop, and it's like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? It's like, sorry, is that a wrong analogy?
No, I just thought I didn't. True story. I never went to my prom. I never went.
Either did I. I actually did. I drove my buddies there and picked them up afterwards. That's the truth of the matter.
I went to my girlfriend's at the time, who became my wife, who's now my ex-wife. I went to hers, but I didn't go to mine. But
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I often say that I regularly wish I could go back to just being a race fan, because once you see racing from the inside for what it really is,
absolutely right.
And there's a lot. Like, I mean, I'm very thankful. I'm very fortunate to be in racing. I love it. I do it multiple times per week. But there's still, I wish I could go back to that innocence where I didn't know about the business side. I didn't know about the cutthroat side. I didn't know about these greedy sons of bitches.
Yeah.
Just like the people who just bleed people. They taste that someone's got a $1 bill in their pockets, and all they try and do is take that dollar. They don't ever think about giving anything back for it. I wish I could go back to that and not know.
And the last 2 years, we wrote some big checks with, I'm talking healthy 6, almost, healthy 5, almost 6 digits in certain realms and certain things. And I didn't even get here's a bottle of wine, thank you so much, at the end of the year. Or, it was kind of a high five, walking through the venue.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. And I know what you're talking about. And I'm, I can, appreciate
so
that.
Like, that's that kind of just, and then to get the cold shoulder because you don't do anything the following year and stuff like that. Or just the kind of, it's like, it's disappointing is the word, I guess, is really what it is. So I'd rather, and I quantify it to my own personal life, Colin, is I'd rather have a small circle of really good people that I call friends that are tight than say that that I have this big circle of friends that I know. And you and I are both in different positions, that are social circle of business in our racing worlds and stuff. And then my stuff that I do, we've got this big circle. I'd rather have a little circle like this that as I always say, that they'll be there Christmas morning to have dinner, or Christmas Day they'll come. That's what I'd rather have in the business world and stuff too, right? But the motorsport, there's no loyalty in the motorsport world, and that's the one thing I have always told everybody from the other side of the fence when I was dealing with the sports marketing and the licensing world, is don't fall in love with it. And you know me, when I go to the races, where am I? I'm sitting by myself somewhere off in the corner. I sit in a chair, or I sit in my tailgate of my truck. You know me, I don't need the limelight. I don't I'm there as a race fan because I got into this because I like racing. You know what I mean? And I just want to sit there and watch the racing and just enjoy it as a fan.
Yeah, no, countless times. I mean, I could think back to Chaudière last year. Did you even get to watch the race because you were manning a tent?
Well, and that's because I hired an agency, and they canceled on Thursday night. I'm on my way there to set the tent up. So it's like I pick up Sherry that works for our company, and I say, Sherry, come in. You're bilingual, because I was dead. If I was dead there, if I was done, I would just be like, Tag comes up for an hour up to the tent, and that's the only time I saw any of you guys.
That's not true. I was back and forth a few times trying to.
Oh yeah, you came up. Yeah, Yeah, that's right. You came up, and then
Checked in every time I had to get up to spot.
but that was a good event because we had Rona. That was when we just launched the Tag Rona package, and Rona had brought a bunch of their stores. I invited a bunch of their stores, and you can't do any of that gratis hospitality anymore. Just in the corporate world, that's totally changed. Like I remember the days of the RBC was one of my accounts, and they'd spend $500,000 with us just on hospitality at different events. Now I think their budget, somebody told me, is like 10 grand for the year, and they got $100 per person on hospitality or gratis, which means they could take them to Boston Pizza. Yeah, it's just a different world, right? I'm just saying that on that side of it. So obviously, to invite the Rona guys, I had to go circumvent and physically go to the stores on my way to Chaudière, drive in, and just hand my card and say, "Hey, here's the manager," and verbally do it. There couldn't be an electronic trail.
Yeah.
We still had 60 odd people there that came out and whatnot. And that was a kind of a soft launch for the Tag 4-pack because it got in there so late last year. So
Yeah.
which is available at your local retailers across Canada. Your Tag Lanny's 4-pack Qwick Wick.
Out of any one of 2,600 retailers across Canada.
That's right. It's not in all the 2,600 because we wanted to give Rona. That was a funny deal with Rona, right? Because Tag and I kind of got blindsided because they were still on the fence about coming back on the car last year, and Viagra, and then whatnot, and then because we were at Delaware the following year when he was leading the championship, or was that last year? No, yeah, the following year, 3 years ago. Tag and I were in the scoring tower with a video remote call with the first call with Rona, just doing the intros and the product, and they were still going to be on the car. So the whole packaging, I wouldn't have put the packaging, done that. I would have taken it and done this, right? So there's what it should have been. It should have been Tag with a Qwick Wick car, Tag with a Qwick Wick race suit, and this goes into the Rona stores. So now I have 100,000 of these Tag 4-packs with the Rona Lowe's co-branded, and then of course 6 months later, Rona pulls out of Lowe's pulls out of Canada again. And they never told us any of that sort of stuff, which is kind of shitty.
And that's something else you do really well. I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the team, but on behalf of the team, watching what you do, watching what Qwick Wick does, through social media, you are so good about including all the team sponsors, all the people who are associated, because it's not, you spend a lot of time obviously promoting Qwick Wick, but at the same time, you also spend a lot of time promoting all the associated sponsors that routinely get added during Alex's social posts. So it's a thoughtful thing that you do.
Yeah, well, you know what? You can't just talk about the quarterback, right? You got to talk about the lineman and everybody else on the team. So it's and I you know what? And Alex does a great job like that. So I mean, we just kind of piggyback on his stuff, and then of course the other thing is that for Qwick Wick is this year, I pulled some money out of the motorsport budgets and moved it into the lifestyle budget. So I want to get those RVers and cottagers and campers and fishermen and those type of people and the hikers and because that industry is a big industry also. I think we've established our brand identity in the motorsport world in Canada pretty good. But just to kind of quantify numbers, our footprint across Canada is about 2,600 stores. I'm talking that have it, didn't, then have it again. But, it's been in those stores over the last 2.5, 3 years. I've got one account in the U.S. that he says, basically, Dave, if we just focus on New York State, and my book of business for just New York State, I've got 17,247 campgrounds and RVs.
Yeah.
There's more people in New York State than there's all of Canada. You know what I mean? So, and that's the outside lifestyle stuff, right? So, because to dip my toe into the NASCAR and the motorsport world in the U.S., some guy sent me a deck out of Chicago, which an NHRA guy, he's like, doesn't even get past round one in the top fuel, but he's a top fuel guy in NHRA. One race is $45,000.
Yeah.
And the guy doesn't get past round one. Like his record, I Googled him, like for the last 3 years, like sometimes he got into round two when a guy in round one blew up. You know what I mean? And it's like 40 grand he wants for a race. And then they do this in the car and then they wrap the backup car. And, it's Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Crazy. When and if you get out to the Western races, you will be blown away with the number of campers and motorhomes that exist out here. Any highway we drive on is completely packed with RV storage units, RV this like, and these are like 10-acre, just nothing but RV storage, and there's
So that
of them.
is that's their base, and then they leave and go where? They go to Banff? Do they stay in Canada? Do they go? Are they snowbirds?
They go all
Or
over the place. I mean,
they
for the
do, eh?
most part, they're just local campers, and most places, most houses don't have enough room to store a camper like in your driveway. So at the end of their camping trip, they go to the RV storage place, they drop it off. There's usually a sandy dump there. There's a power supply. They pay X number of dollars, but there are tens of thousands of campers out here. So we have a few friends that operate RV dealerships that we'll have to make sure we introduce you to and get get some more.
Anybody that's out there that knows about this, that hears about this, that I will ship them and do a co-op, meaning I will ship them their first order. They pay me for that when it's sold and they order their second batch. So they're always going to be cash flow positive. We'll do that in a heartbeat for anybody that's a referral from somebody like yourself that we know. My sales guys, because my sales distribution guy in Ontario, he's flat out bottom line. They're weak past Winnipeg. I mean, it's like they get to Northern Ontario and Thunder Bay, and I think they think that that's the end of the world and stop and come back.
Yep.
And it's a huge market. And the thing out there is in any index in the retail market, because I'm a big guy on analytics, is the most loyal consumers in Canada are basically Western Canada. Like it's a staggering number. Like if you took 100 people and said, who's loyal to this, like 92% would be loyal to this. And then in Canada, it'd be like 32, 38.
Yeah.
Quebec is second with about 48 to 52% loyalty, brand loyalty. And then out west, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Well, hopefully, if you come out, hopefully you allow yourself a little bit of time, and we can connect you with a couple of the big hitters and a couple of our friends, and really help to get get
I
this
appreciate that.
out there. So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Sure. I've kept you long enough here. Is there anything that we've missed? Is there any closing thoughts?
No, that's awesome, buddy. That's awesome. I just want you to delete your Monaco comment. Let me just see my notes here. No, I got everything here. I'm just teasing you, buddy.
Next
this
time
this was fun. This was good.
Next time we got to cover up those tiger pictures.
Well, yeah, I know you don't like tiger, but you know what? That flag up there could probably go on eBay and yeah. So if the fire starter business doesn't work, I can sell my sports memorabilia and still retire.
Start liquidating some assets.
Yeah. Next time we do a podcast, you invite me back if I'm blessed to be invited back, and you see the tiger print's gone or something like that, you'll know that, Qwick Wick had to liquidate. Listen, I've sold boats and cars in my other businesses to make payroll. When big box retailers are sitting there not paying you on time, you and I were talking about that just on the weekend.
Yep.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Sometimes if anybody gets in business nowadays, I think the busiest and the most simplistic way I would say it is do e-com and stay in house and control your sale. Don't try to expand.
Yeah, I don't know that there's one way that's the right way and the rest that isn't, but the challenges of being a business owner is it's astronomically difficult, and the sacrifice that guys like you and I make behind the scenes, I don't think most people they don't have the constitution for it, and then even if they hear about it, they can't appreciate it. Like until you've actually put everything you have on the line so that you can to tomorrow, you don't understand what it's like.
No, I agree 100%. And, and Qwick Wick's not in that status, but we've obviously taken the business from a nice little book of business, a nice little book of product and branding, and we've taken it and injected a huge footprint and a huge rollout. That's why we had to change our production so that we can make 30,000 fire starters a day. And I can package, 30,000 fire starters into 4-packs in a course of 7.5, 8 hours. So I mean, we just had to we just had to do it right. And obviously COVID made it very challenging. You and I don't even know how you did it through COVID, because I mean your stuff and the metals and all that shit, materials and everything, you probably didn't have stuff to sell.
I honestly don't know how we did it through COVID, and we did it. But I don't know how things managed to just be lucky enough when we needed to kind of bridge the gap, other than, for the most part, our suppliers were very understanding, that, we were all kind of in the same boat. So, you get a little extra, credence. Um,
Yeah.
I just don't know. Now that you actually, you mentioned something, and I don't know the answer to the question I'm about to ask you, but where is the production plant?
Oh, okay. So basically, the plant is in a little town called Park Hill. It's about 20 minutes west of London, southwestern Ontario.
Okay.
The plant has been there for 25 years. It used to be in Strathroy, and then Frank moved it over to this property and built it. It's a historical site. There was a horrific fire there, believe it or not, and it burnt to the ground about 6, 7 years ago. But it only burnt the top floor because it's a concrete pillar and a concrete base, which is kind of funny. And yes, we do have fire insurance now. We didn't before. And yeah, so Frank got it rebuilt, and got a lot of people to support in the community, and just a framing and stuff like that. But it was kind of a nice feel good story. Yeah, and then we have a corporate office which is in London, Ontario, which is just south of the airport in London. That's kind of our new corporate office, where Qwick Wick Fire Starters Corp is based out of. I have an office in Barrie, and then we have another satellite office in Ottawa.
Gotcha. And how
Yeah.
many employees? That's the other thing I've never
Well,
picked.
we've switched a lot of our production over to piecework, which is quite good, because obviously everybody works and they make more money. But in the peak of when we have everything between supplier, production, sales, I'd say at our peak we're about 13 to 20 people when everything's said and done, soup to nuts.
Gotcha.
We've been lean and mean this year to start off with, just coming out of COVID, or sorry, last year,
Yeah.
coming out of COVID, just because in our perspective, everything kind of slowed down and stopped in the retail world. So we had to do everything in house and push online just to generate revenue. And then wax prices, because of the hurricanes, went through the roof. So we have a 26,000 gallon tank in our warehouse, and it costs, on average, it's usually about a buck a gallon to fill it. So $26,000. We're paying 54, 60,000, because of the hurricanes from a year and a half, 2 years ago, have affected the wax combinations and all the supplies. And there's cardboard going through the roof. It's just constantly changing. It's the most frustrating thing. And so a level economy would be one of the nicest things to see for us. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Our plant's there,
Okay.
and it's lean and mean. We can make 30,000 fire starters a day with 3 employees.
We might have to arrange a tour during the final race at Delaware.
Yeah. We should do that. Plan a little barbecue there or something. Just get everybody up there for, or definitely a walkthrough. Yeah, I mean it's Park Hill. It's not a sexy destination.
Unlike London. London.
You know what? I don't mind London, actually. The more I've gone through it and kind of, it's not bad.
I'm thinking of the
London Airport. I just find
air.
London is like, for 130,000 or whatever the population, I just find it seems like it goes from the airport all the way to Delaware Speedway, and then that's like the border of London. I'm like Barrie, you literally come down Barrie and you come around the corner, you hit Essa Road, you go north on Highway 11, and then you hit the fork that goes to Perry Sound and Huntsville, and that's Barrie.
Yeah.
And that takes you to go across 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But,
I stayed in London. I made a trip out there in like the early 2000s. Was my first trip there for trying to bring on a sales guy. And I remember staying at the Delta Hotel, which was kind of they call it the something district. Like it was in this old.
Yeah. Which it's like the beer district. It's where the Labatt's brewery is, and the factories and all that stuff is. Probably.
And it was gorgeous. And
it's beautiful down there.
But then, because of timeline, I actually ended up flying into London from Toronto last year to get into the race.
I remember that.
And getting into the airport, it was like, whoa, like Edmonton's a small airport, but it's efficient. Yeah, London is on a different level.
Do you
Small.
know, I lived in a town called Tilsonburg just outside of London for about a year, 6 months. I did the one of my last big contracts with the NHL was the Winter Classic at Detroit at the Big House, the University of Michigan Stadium, the Big House they call it, and they had the Winter Classic, Toronto Maple Leafs against the Detroit Red Wings. So obviously it's 5 hour drive plus going over the border. So I had a rental in Tilsonburg, and I would go to London Airport and fly out of London Airport. And I laugh because sometimes I wouldn't even check that it would take me out of London to Toronto land. I mean, I could have, like, because Tilsonburg's literally 20 minutes, half an hour from London. I could have gone this way to the airport as opposed to, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's why when I started living on the other side of the lake here, and I was doing all the Olympic business, I would drive to Ottawa. It would be quicker for me to drive from the west end of Lake Ontario, or Lake Simcoe here, and like over in Aurelia side. I could drive to downtown Ottawa quicker than I could leave my house, go to the airport, pass security, get on a flight, go to Ottawa, and then my meetings would go on late. You know, it's just so funny, these airports. But London's a cool little town. I would never live there. It's just not my shtick. But I mean, that whole area you were in, that's John Labatt's, right? That's where the Labatt family started Labatt's Brewery from in London.
Yeah, we've got a we stop when we're racing in London, the restaurant of choice is Chop.
Yes,
We
yeah,
really
good.
like Chop. Yeah,
Well, that's right around the corner from the hotel we all stayed at.
Yeah, the pretty close, and then it was right in the parking lot of the Holiday Inn when we'd stay there. But yeah, good times. You know, we're getting back to that. I'm going to keep rambling here just because you keep saying new things that bring up other memories and other thoughts. You mentioned the Heritage Classic, which of course was invented in Edmonton.
Absolutely.
First one. I was at it.
Edmonton and Calgary, wasn't it? Edmonton and
Montreal.
Montreal Canadiens. That's right. I knew it was one of the original.
I got to watch Guy Lafleur, you know, part of the
alumni game,
old timer alumni.
Yeah.
I remember the story I've got. It was so cold. Like the temperature on the thermometer said it was between -18 and -22, but it was way colder than that. And whatever.
And that was at Commonwealth, right?
Correct.
Stadium.
So you know, I was married at the time. My wife and I were standing on the concourse. I want to say it was before the game started, and we were in line to use the bathrooms. And that, like, I mean, the building was packed. Commonwealth holds something like 67,000 people.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of hanging out there. These two guys bought beers, and they're standing in line, and you know, we're kind of noticing, like, who buys a beer when it's -20? But it's a Canadian and Edmontonian. And within just a couple minutes, the guys go to take a sip of their beer, and it's swollen. Like, it was so cool. They had two of them. Like, what do we do?
Commonwealth saying that back then it had the bleachers and stuff. I mean, there's certain side seats had the buckets.
No, they were all seats. Yeah, there was no.
They were all seats, but they had the bleachers on the ends. Imagine sitting on those aluminum. Oh my god.
Yeah, they actually erected some of the, like, temporary seating on the short ends. Yeah, it was.
I remember that.
Yeah, so I was there for that one. That was one of the.
So we did the one at the Big House, and with all the seating, there was 118,000 people. So that the stadium holds 105 for a Michigan football.
Yeah,
football, but 113 or 18 it was a number. So we did all the logistics for that and put that event on, and that was cold too. That was cold, but
nothing. The two greatest events I've ever been to are the Indy 500 and GP3R. As far as, like, fan interaction, engagement.
Indy 500, it's pretty. Indy 500, I'd say the Daytona 500 is pretty cool too. Back in the heyday when it was rocking. Now they've got so much security, and it's so much in the infield, and it's all $1 million.
I'm not a big fan of the Indy or Daytona. I went to the Daytona 500 once. It was really cool. I was there purely as a fan. I didn't have any involvement in motorsports at that time. But it, like, the structure, the like, seeing Daytona International Speedway, you know, it's like an oasis. You can see from miles away, and it's like, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you get there. That's very cool. Where Indy, when you see Indy from the outside, it's like, that's it. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
look like a whole lot. The
Well, but I
grandstands-
love Indy when I love Indy for the fact that when you go there for the very first time, depends on how you come in. If you come off the highway and you come through the subdivision, like into the back of the front straightaway, like it's hilarious, right? Because like
yeah,
literally, like where I would have my house on the sidewalk, and then there's a little tiny little skinny 2-lane road.
yep,
The grandstands are right there. Like you
Georgetown,
literally, you know what I mean? Like
yep.
it's. I just thought that was. I thought it was epic. Like
Yeah,
it's just
but like the structure of Indy Motor Speedway, it's not like a towering structure from the outside.
no,
It's
no, no, no.
relatively benign.
Yeah,
When you're on 16th, when you're on Georgetown, you're somewhere awesome. But then you go through a tunnel and you're inside, and it's like, holy shit,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
unbelievable. I mean,
Well,
when you
any racetrack, we're talking two iconic racetracks. Any racetrack that has golf holes in the middle of it and still has a road course in the middle of it, also that doesn't encompass the golf course holes. Or if you go to Daytona and you sit in the grandstands and you sit high enough, Daytona International Airport's behind the little private airport, and there's big commuters and cargo freight planes coming in. They're not little piddly things, and they come in and you see them at turn 2, kind of touch down,
yep,
and then before they get to turn 3, they've stopped and they're taxiing. You're going, holy shit! Like that perspective is the back straightaway of this racetrack. You kind of realize, you know what I mean?
yep,
Like
but that's not a private airport.
that's a
That's a
commercial airport.
commercial airport. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
they've landed Air Force One there. Like,
Well, there's that iconic picture when Petty won, and he's on the back straightaway, and Air Force One was coming through the sky to Reagan to have fried chicken with Petty and the guys after the race.
correct. Yeah, good
Yeah,
stuff.
I remember that. That's
Well,
awesome.
you definitely don't need the blessing to come back on. Be welcome to have you anytime. We
Thanks,
might
buddy. Yeah.
something more. I want to try and do more behind the scenes. So what I'm thinking is we'll maybe try and do something during, if you make it out for the Western Swing, we'll maybe do like a live thing with you, me, Tag, and just kind of bullshit for I want to say an hour, but it'll likely go on when Tag came.
Well, if it's you and I, we can cut it and do the little symbols and stuff. Tag it doesn't matter.
My episode with Tag went 2 hours and 35 minutes, and we
Oh
didn't
my
get to
God.
10% of what I wanted to
You
talk.
want to hear that? You know what? I love the guy like a little brother, but I heard a funny story, and we'll finish it on this. Is I guess they had a meeting or a conference call for an AGM conference call at the beginning of the year with Tony Spiteri and all the guys with NASCAR Canada, and a bunch of the guys that phoned in and called in remotely. Well, they were just ready to kind of start having lunch, and I guess Tag got the floor on the remote, so he's talking on the phone, and it's the hands free on the tables and everything. So they just start, and so Tony says, "Tag, we're gonna eat our sandwiches, and well, we're listening to your ideas." So, anyways, somebody told me that they were betting on when he would finish, when we got through the soup, or when we got through half our sandwich, or if we got through dessert, or we wrapped it up and we had our coffee after our lunch. If he'd still be talking, they were doing this little fun pool, right? Because he was going on, because he's so passionate. You gotta love the guy. Like
Oh
his
yeah,
stories, sometimes he repeats them, but they're different every time he tells them. It's the same. It's not like he's lying about the other one. It's just there's more in depth. There's a different perspective on it, and it's just like we're talking to one of Canadians' most dedicated, one of the most popular drivers and one of the most accomplished drivers that we've had in Canada, and just a good guy. Like I'm really stoked about our relationship with him. We couldn't ask for a better brand ambassador from that point, and we're just a small company, so he's helping us too, right? So
100%.
but yeah, no, his stories are just incredible, just incredible. But
Well,
I mean, and there's stories that we're fans of. Like you're closer to him. You guys have traveled this journey for many years together and worked together. I'm an outsider. I'm just a little stupid guy that had a couple of businesses and now have a fire starter business that I kind of look after and run. And so I'm a race fan more for like more than anything. And so to hear this guy tell these stories, it's like these are things that I saw on TV and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Like I was in Rio de Janeiro and I saw when the Paralympic Games were on, and Zanardi was running, racing his little unibike.
yep.
I was down there, right? And I was like laughing and stuff. And so he was invited to Canada House. And of course, anybody around the world that we meet, if you're a Canadian and oh, hey, do you know Colin Livingston? I was like, Jesus, Murphy, like, yeah, of course, like, I mean, not that Zanardi said that to me, but I'm just saying, first thing he does is like, oh, do you know, like, he says, oh, my friend, and this and this, and you know, so and so, and you know, so. I said, no, I said, but and I said, but I know Alex Tagliani. I said, I don't know of him, but I know this guy, and I know this guy, and we were laughing, and it's just hilarious because everybody thinks that we all live side by side and we know everybody, right? So, but it was so funny. Anyways, my long-winded answer on our conversation was already. It was so cool to say that he was one of his most respected guys.
Yep. Yeah.
He said his exact words were, because he went up and did a little hot stove lounge, and then when the accident happened, he says one of the closest people that I became closer to was the gentleman. He didn't say Tag's name. He says the gentleman that actually I had my accident that hit me. And he said that 3 inches this way or 3 inches that way, he would have been dead, or I would have been dead, or we both would have been dead. And he says, so it was quite interesting, quite emotional. But I never told Tag that because I've never talked about that with Tag because I just think that's one of those things you just don't bring up,
And he does talk about it.
Oh, does he?
There was he won't bring it up, but he will.
Yeah.
People ask the question, he'll tell the story. But there was a really touching moment. I can't remember exactly what 500 it was, but I was with him and Bronte, and we were on the start finish line, and Zanardi came out, and they had like, I didn't know at the time what the relationship was. I knew a bit of what had happened, but they kind of pulled each other off to the side and had a I won't go any further than to say they had a very, very touching moment.
Yeah, it was their moment. Yeah,
Alex was about to get in the car.
Whew.
And Alex, Zanardi came over, and they had that moment, and it's like, I got to see it. It's like, yeah, this is pretty cool. You talk about, you started.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
I'm a kid from Stony Plain, Alberta, which unless you're from the area, nobody knows where Stony Plain.
Didn't they quarantine that little town? Wasn't it quarantined back about 10 years ago?
Yeah, I snuck out.
Oh, okay, good, good.
No, I
heard about that. Maybe I got the names wrong.
I was evicted. I was kicked out of the collective. But
yeah,
I mean, I'm just a kid from a small town, and just
a
fortunate circumstance and seized opportunity. We'll see you at Chaudière, and thanks again. We'll make sure the people know how to find you, and looking forward to it. Really appreciate you giving me the time, Dave.
Oh, my pleasure, buddy. Enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Okay, take care.
Okay, good night.